For the newly indoctrinated, Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files follows the story of a professional wizard in Chicago. We've started our podcast as a way to help break down the series' most important moments, characters, and lore. This is McAnally's Dresden Files Pubcast by Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.
Welcome to the McAnally's Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. This is episode 8.10 of Fool's Gambit, where we are covering the novel Grave Peril. My name is Tanzan, and I'm joined by Maggie.
Hello, hello.
And Jess.
Hi.
Chapter 20. Dresden makes his way to Michael's house. He warns Michael of the nightmare's quest for revenge. They find that Charity has left the house, and the two go off to look for her. Dresden finds out from the cashier that Charity has already left with the nightmare.
So now that he's got Murphy squared away, and he does make another last-ditch attempt to try and call over to Michael's place, but has no success, so he hightails it over there. And, of course, we find that Michael lives in, like, a little, like, gingerbread storybook Norman Rockwell painting house.
Right, with the white picket fence.
Literally, right? He's like, I wouldn't have thought you could find, like, a nice quiet piece of suburbia in the middle of Chicago, but even though Michael does apparently live in the middle of Chicago, yes, he has a lovely, and I mean, he is a carpenter, so I'll give him that too, that, you know, and obviously Michael is family man, and like, so he's obviously put a lot of his own work and effort and love into making this home. But yeah, it's like, it's got fancy trim and like literally a little white picket fence and a yard and the whole, so yeah.
It's sickeningly sweet, really.
A little sickeningly sweet, but like, hey, good on ya. We should all be so lucky to, you know, grow up in the dream.
So Harry arrives at Michael's house to warn him about the nightmare.
So yeah, shows up there, and it's funny exchange, but it's sort of, so he does the whole thing, like, give him the explanation, right? He's like, oh no, the nightmare's out there, he's coming to take revenge on all of us, you guys aren't safe. And then Michael's like, so how do I know that you're not just him?
I like that moment.
And it's a good moment. And I'm like, on the one hand, it is fair. You can sort of sell the point to make it, you know, the double cross or whatever. But at the same time, I'm like, there's a little bit of me, I'm like, but again, Michael doesn't know this, you know, like, unless, yeah, if the thing had headed there next after encountering Harry and Murphy, maybe he's like, again, if Harry's phone call had gotten through and then the nightmare had shown up at his house, maybe this is way it would have worked better. But I'm like, but Michael doesn't know what's going on, so you don't need to tell him that the thing looks like, you know, it's the same thing as like, why, if you can just walk through walls, why didn't you just pop up into Murphy's office? And you know what I mean? Like, why did you need to go through the door and sign in? And, you know, and it's like, I get it, it's a cute moment and it does work. And then of course Harry being like, oh, well, yeah, I guess you shouldn't let me in. He's like, oh, okay, obviously you're Harry, because you're not. But, you know, at the same time, it's almost a little bit like, but you didn't need to do that.
He doesn't know. Maybe the nightmare was there.
Well, and that's what I was saying. I was like, maybe, you know, if he had headed there right after dealing with Murphy, maybe he's like, he warned him, so I'll pretend like I'm... But yeah, it was just one of those things where I'm like, this seems a little wet. Wait. Like, it's kind of a poor way of, if you were the nightmare, of being like, I'm a bad guy, don't let me in. Oh, that's okay. You must be the good guy. I'll let you in. You know? Like, it was like, wait, what?
Oh, I thought it was the Charity comment that...
Well, it is, and that's why he's like, you must be the real Harry or whatever. But it was just one of those things, it was just like the fact that, you know, that Harry gives him this big explanation, and then Michael's like, well, how do I know that's not you? And it's like, would the bad guy have shown up and said, like, I might be the bad guy? Like, duh, no. Anyways, regardless of that, it is a very cute exchange, and exactly, it's, yeah, his whole thing's like, Charity just kicked my ass for showing up here in the middle of the night. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, come on in. Which, again, Michael doesn't really check the ID all that well either. So, yeah, so he goes, he gives them the whole spiel. He's like, wake everybody up. And this goes back to my point a little bit before, because then Michael's like, well, you just said this thing was in a solid body and running around Chicago, so it can't be in the Never Never sneaking into people's dreams. And he's like, oh, I guess. But I was like, but again, this is what we were going back to before, that it was apparently in a solid body while it hung around outside Mickey Malone's and killed things. and ripped up the church, as apparently it had to have some kind of physical form in order to affect physical objects in our reality. But then as soon as, Malone went to sleep and it was waiting for Lydia, then it popped back into the Never Never and jumped into his dreams. So I'm like, I don't know that your logic is flawless here, Michael.
Right.
Like, it's maybe more solid, because, to me, most of it is that it's like it has a better ability to look like Harry and know some of the things Harry would know, and then obviously, can use Harry's magic and stuff like that. But beyond that, I'm like, it seemed like it was being physical enough, because that's why they're like so freaked out about this ghost, is it's going all over town, not just sticking to like one place and doing all kinds of physical damage. So the fact that it's in a body now, I'm like, I don't know that really holds well. Like, I could see Michael maybe coming up with that, but you'd think Harry would be like, well, that's not fucking how this thing is working, because it's been not behaving like a ghost the entire book.
It keeps changing the rules.
It keeps changing the rules, which is why he's been running around behind this thing trying to figure it the fuck out anyways, because it's like, well, demons can't do that, but ghosts can't do this. And so anyways, again, it's kind of like I don't know. But regardless, Harry does kind of try and argue that a little bit anyways, and Michael's just like, okay, chill out, I'm gonna go, put the little one back to bed, and da-da-da-da-da. So Harry's like, fine, sits down, and then, finds the note. So obviously Michael had dozed off, with the baby, and she left him a note, but hasn't noticed it yet with Harry coming. So now Michael is a little bit freaked out, because he's like, Cherry's not here, and he's like, wait, there's a note. So
it's okay.
It's like, you can just, like, I love, Butcher does a good job of painting word pictures, like, I always, like, but you can just see, like, Michael showing up at the top of the stairs, being like, Charity's gone, and Harry's, like, already gotten up into the bottom of the stairs, just like, wait, she left a note. And they're like, okay. But yeah, Michael's like, all right, let's go. And Harry's like, your house full of kids? And I love, this is another one where it's like, again, I can just envision this so well, of Michael just still looking at Harry and giving him that look, and then like just reaching out and opening the door, and there's like Fort Hill.
It's a great moment.
It's a fantastic moment. And my only thing is, again, Marsters, I love you, but again, this was not a well-rehearsed section, because when you listen to this, so obviously, so he shows up, and yeah, he's like, Fort Hill was like, oh, I was just driving like Mrs. Amish home and ran out of gas, and it's like, you need a babysitter again, don't you? But the way that Marsters reads it is he was like, he's like, you need a babysitter again, don't you? And I was like, no, that's not how he was. He's like, hi, I'm here for... Oh, you need a sitter, don't you? Like, it's not an accident. I ran out of gas driving, And it was just one of those things where I'm like, it just takes it a little bit away. I'm like, hopefully, again, those people listening will be able to make that switch in their heads too. But it's like, oh, Marsters, she put the wrong inflection on it there. Sorry, buddy. But yeah, I noticed there was a couple, unfortunately, little bits in this where he sort of did that same thing, like asked the question the wrong way, put the wrong inflection or something. I'm like, no, that's not.
You just started this podcast because you wanted to dunk on James Marsters.
I don't really, because I love James Marsters in a lot of ways. I love Spike, and I
think that's why you did this.
No,
He's bad at reading, and I want the world to know.
Only for the first couple. It does get much, much better. Where I don't know if part of that is when they switch company. Obviously part of it has to be Marsters himself, because he's the one doing it and how much prep. But I know it started off with like Buzzy Multimedia, and I don't want to dunk on them too much, because I know I was listening, somebody does dunk like a whole lot on them, and it was like, they suck, they were horrible, and I'm like, it does get better once they switch, but at the same time, I'm like, hey, they were already the first ones that reached out and offered like an audiobook deal too. So thank you very much, Buzzy, for putting that together. But yeah, between Marsters, the production company, whoever's responsible, I love the audiobooks, and he will always be Harry's voice and everything like that. I thoroughly enjoy the fact that he is reading all of them. But anyways, and Harry's just like, fuck you, it's like handy fringe benefit.
Yeah, Michael really has the hand of God right behind him. I'm like, here you go, here you go.
Right, just, it'll work out. So off they go, and Michael's like, okay, makes sense that, this is the closest grocery to us open, this is where she would have gone. And man, what a snotty fucking little cashier.
Right? You just want to reach into the book and smack her.
I know! I was like, apparently I played it wrong the whole way, because anytime somebody comes into my place of business and they're like, hey, I'm trying to find this address, I'm like, oh, it's around the corner, or I've never heard of it, here, let's Google it. apparently I should be fucking, like, extorting people for money left, right, and center. Oh, you want to know how to get to Cocoa Brooks? All right, what's in it for me? $5? It's at least $7 for their banana bread, so... like, I don't know. But yeah, she's totally... I think this was the other part where it was a little bit where, you know, and again, this is just this whole gag going on. Did you see me come in here? But yeah, but she's like, what's in it for me or whatever, right? So Michael's like ready to just fucking,
he's not
like,
impressed.
don't mess with Michael and his family. Like, he's like instantly, he's like, I'm gonna fight. He's like, he's like, fine, you detect, I'm gonna go. So he goes off to, and right, so Harry does the whole, like, yeah, his
starts bellowing through
15, well, yeah, he just, Charity, well, can you just imagine, she, like, this fucking, like, long sword. Charity! Like, oh man, you get all kinds of crazies. But yeah, but she's like, what's in it for me or whatever, and then he's like, whatever, gives her like $15 or something. She's like, fine. She went down to like the freezer section. He's like, and then what? And she's like, what? This is like your brother or something, like running around with your girl. Like, well, no, he calls it his evil twin, but she's like, what? This is like your brother or something? Like, am I gonna see this on like Larry Fowler tomorrow, like the Jerry Springer show, basically? You know? And she's like, and he's like, just what? And then she's like, yeah. Then he kind of starts to get a little bit scary, so she kind of stops being such a dick and trying to get. And she's like, fine, they went. So he does. So he does call for Michael. At least it's not the entire just like take off, you know. At least he does. He's like, Michael, but you know, goes and just catches like a glimpse of them down the street.
Right.
And it's not looking good because apparently Charity's being dragged along by her hair. So I mean, she's still she's still walking, but it's not like. So,
it doesn't look good, no.
It's obviously not just a friendly, you know, buddy, right? Because the girl's all like, whatever, just looked like she was getting a ride. Like, she wasn't, like, freaking out or anything. And now, obviously, it has devolved beyond that because this is not just a friendly... Which I can only imagine, like, poor Dresden, because he's the one that reads them. But, you know, like, she's already going to be pissed off, because there's already said, like, she looked annoyed to see him, like, the cashier, right? It's like, oh, she looked annoyed when you showed up. She went with you, kind of a thing. And it's like, again, right? So she's out in the middle of the night, because fucking pregnant cravings, and she wants, like, fucking pizza and whatever. And then fucking Dresden shows up out of nowhere again, and, like, drags her. And the next thing she knows, he's, like, roughing her up and, like, kidnapping her. And she's going to be like, I fucking told Michael, I fucking told him not to hang around with this guy. Like, fucking Dresden. So yeah, so he keeps kind of trying to call, you know, for Michael, and that's it. And he's like, crap. He's like, this sucks. He's like, they're heading off to like a freaking cemetery. So that's kind of like scary enough on its own. And
Who built a grocery store next to a cemetery, though? Like,
they did say it was down. He said it was like a long sprint down. So it's
still, though, like, grocery store has a giant parking lot. Cemetery has a lot of land. Like, I'm assuming they're still right next to each other.
Are you saying the grocery store, like, usurped some graves to get good parking, or the other way around? It's like, we can't bury as many people here now.
Neither. I'm saying, like, a quick sprint down doesn't say they're not next to each other, though, once you get to the end of the parking lot and the beginning of the cemetery. Yeah. Like,
okay, well, here's a fun fact for you. Your grandpa is buried, like, at the corner. There's a frickin', like, petrol station.
I've been there.
Okay, well, how is that any different? There's a gas station convenience store right next to his grave.
It's just like the way cities are laid out. Like, you don't put grocery stores next to cemeteries.
So here's a fun fact.
Van Heller did that too. Like the one cemetery that they have there, they put a Walmart next to it. It was like classy, guys. Super classy.
It's for all those poor Walmart people who sort of feel dead on the inside. They're like, wow, just drive it home a little more. It's no longer metaphorically soul-sucking, it's literal. But, okay, so this summer when I was doing the road work all over, and, like, all these tiny little towns, and just before we got to them, we'd always pass, like, the cemetery. I hate you. And everybody was always like,
another job.
Well, it was so funny though, because like all my coworkers be like, how come everywhere we go there's like a cemetery right outside of town? And I'm like, well, okay, because they have to bury people somewhere, like, you know. But all that cemetery that's now next to a grocery store was probably some little cemetery like on the outskirts of town before the town fucking grew and swallowed it up, and they had to build like 17 more.
Still, though.
They always started as, like, a little bit away from where the populace was, but then as cities grow. But yeah, I don't know. I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. It's the same as... Okay, yeah, so apparently there's a cemetery next to a grocery store. But yeah, he kind of doesn't want... It's that whole between. He's like, he doesn't want to lose sight of them and have whatever happened to Charity, but he kind of doesn't want to go on his own. Michael hasn't come out yet. And he's like, what do I do? Fuck. You know, he's like, yeah.
He figures out the van was sabotaged, which was, like, that's very thoughtful of... Like,
the nightmare. Yeah, planning ahead and stuff like that. And again,
premeditated.
Right? Is this on his... Like, again, like, how... I mean, unless he came out just as, like, Charity was leaving or something like that. Because it's obviously not that far away. It's something of a neighborhood store. Because Michael's like, this is the closest one to us that's open or whatever, right? So it's like, how would it have tracked her down there otherwise or whatever, right? So that, like, the nightmares show up just as, like, Charity was leaving or something, and then he had to, like, oogity boogity, like, I don't know, mystical fly down after her. Something out of, like, a sitcom or something where he, like, jumped on the back of the minivan and was, like, hanging on as she drove down to the store. Like, I don't know how otherwise this guy would randomly find her at the grocery store in the middle of the night. Like, it makes sense finding out where they live and showing up at their house, but yeah, whatever. But yeah, so then she goes in and he decides to just, vandalize the car so she can't leave. Like, but yeah, it's like, is that the just demon knowledge in general? I'm like, you know how to come into this world and create havoc, so why not? Or is this, like, again, more of, like, your Harry?
Well, he was destroying cars at the church.
True, but he was, like, picking them up and, like, flipping them. He didn't just, like, pop the hood and pull some wires. So I guess I'm like, maybe
there's some serious power behind the nightmare.
It's sort of funny because we don't think we're just like, oh, nightmare, but it's like, yeah, actually, like, when you stop and think about it and, like, what Harry's going through, it's like, no wonder he's so fucking freaked. Like, he's like, yeah, a lot of times it's like it's hard enough for them to, like, move a penny. And this
this guy gets, like, around.
Flipping cars.
It's like, in, like, you know, what, one day now, he's got Malone and Murphy and Charity and Harry. Like, he's making some good time.
Yeah, 24 to 48 hours or whatever we're dealing with here. Yeah, actually. When the fuck does this guy have time to sleep and recharge? It's like,
see, Victor cells, this is what happens when you're not reliant on the weather.
Yeah, right. You get so much more done.
Waiting for a goddamn storm every day of the week, like, fuck, gotta kill this guy.
Oh my god. I can talk about really cursing out the weather, man. Like, you know, normally we're like, oh, weather's only semi-accurate. You're like, fuck, no! It's like, he's literally gonna show up and kill me before I can kill him.
There should have been a scene where, like, Harry, like, when he was first, like, checking out the lake house.
Yep.
And it was just, like, Victor Sell's doing, like, a rain dance. He's like, what the fuck is this? And he leaves. Some weirdo dance. And then he's, like, later on, he's like, oh, he was doing a rain dance.
Got it. Fuck, I could have shut him down right then.
Missed opportunities.
Damn it. Yeah. So, yeah. Harry's like, alright, guess I better go get her. Fucking takes off in the dark, in the rain, to go hang out in the cemetery.
I know I just kidnapped you, Charity, but guess I'll save you now. Really inconvenient for me, though.
I don't want to go. I'm scared.
Yeah.
Thank you to our Patreon subscribers for your generous support. It's people like you who help us to do what we do. If you're not yet a Patreon subscriber, sign up today and get a fuck ton of bonus content, kick-ass merch, behind-the-scenes outtakes, and more. Sign up today at www.patreon.com/freeflowrambling.
Chapter 21. Dresden makes his way into the cemetery and finds Charity in the nightmare. Harry fights with the nightmare, only to be badly injured. Leah appears and makes another bargain with Dresden that helps him heal enough to dispatch the nightmare. She calls in the favor immediately, and in a foolish move, Dresden misuses Amoracchius, allowing Leah to abscond with it.
So again, another cute start off. He's like, I've done smarter things in my life. Like, once I threw myself out of a moving car to have, like, in order to take on a truckload of lycanthropes. So, yeah. So it's just fucking, like, pouring all of a sudden. I love how when him and Michael are leaving, too, because he's like, Michael's coat gets, like, drenched walking into the grocery store. He's just got on, like, a denim jacket or whatever. And Harry's like, fuck, this is ruining my leather coat. He's like, actually, the old canvas one would have been better tonight. It's like, oh, not the coat, not the coat. Oh, but yeah.
Such a nice coat.
So, gorgeous coat. So, yeah. So he goes off and he's following the fence. And we get again, this will come up once in a while. Dresden mentions it sometimes, you know, that there's always a wall around a cemetery. Whether it's a big brick wall or a wooden fence or just like a chain or, you know, and I've seen some that aren't much more than like the rope and post kind of, you know, but yeah, it's not so much, you know, the walls in your house are there to keep things out. The walls in cemeteries are there to keep things in.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A little bit of lore there.
A little more lore, psychological sort of that, yeah, we don't know why, but we always put up a gate around our fence around the cemetery.
See, I like that moment. That was like really cool to...
Right?
Like,
So, yeah, one of
I
those
thought about
nice
that. Was like,
little
yeah, every
visual,
cemetery I've seen, I think has one around it.
something, right? Exactly. Yeah. So, so he's following the wall until he gets to a spot that apparently, in this brick wall, which is apparently a brick wall of like 7 feet high or something, I think he says he's going along. And then there's like a big chunk ripped out.
Right.
He's like, oh, I guess this is where we're going in. And, oh my gosh, this thing I'm following can rip a hole in the brick wall.
Right.
Great.
I love that little quote here. A dull, restless energy passed against me, like when weariness and caffeine mix around 3:30 in the morning. Like, oh yeah, I've been there.
Right. Apparently Jessica was still there at 8 o'clock this morning. What up? But yeah, so he's feeling a bit more freaked out than he might otherwise, and he's like, you know, all the little tiny, barely there shades that normally, you know, he'd barely register or might be a little bit of like a shiver or something like that. He's like, now he can feel, he like likens it to like pushing through like a crowded marketplace or something, you know, where he like can feel the presence of all these like ghosts and shades and stuff hanging around because of that thinning barrier. And apparently it's a little disconcerting.
Right, he's just plain old afraid.
Kinda, yeah, it's just, yeah.
It made my knees shake, my belly quiver, both from the wounds that had been inflicted on me by the nightmare, and from simple, primitive fear of darkness, the rain, and the place of the dead.
Yeah. So yeah, he starts to feel all that. And Graceland, again, most of you probably know, is a very real cemetery. It is a very famous cemetery. It is one I would love someday to go to Chicago and do like a tour of Graceland Cemetery, because it's one of those world fair, all kinds of lore and crazy things, and but yeah, real place.
I didn't realize
really
it
exists. They do or have done in the past tours and things of, but yeah, it's huge. And mostly nowadays it sounds like you have to be sort of like pretty rich and or famous kind of a thing to get yourself a plot there. I don't know how many just random Joe Blows can still have because it's kind of, yeah, I mean, it's called Graceland. I think it's kind of a little bit almost like the other Graceland, just for graves and stuff.
Also, at this point, it's probably pretty full.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is in the middle of the city and stuff like that, too, right? So that's, yeah, I think that's kind of
branching out.
I think that's, kind of what I mean, is that because prime real estate there now, like, yeah. Anyways, regardless, you can all look up Graceland Cemetery in Chicago.
I'm sure, though, like, the first couple hundred plots, you could probably rebury there.
Well, eventually, I'm sure they start returning over. I don't know how
often they recycle their spots.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like morally, it's never, but like realistically, it's only like, well, a couple years.
Oh, I don't think it'd be as little as a couple of years.
No.
You'd have to have...
They'd have to be maybe 100 years for because then everyone else is dead.
When does the copyright on a body expire?
Well, for example, my dad has been dead for like 20 years. I can still go to his gravesite and still visit his grave marker. If there was like 17 other people buried there wouldn't be room for all those.
I'm not talking about that. I want to know, like, just, like, how long it takes to decompose. Not morally, like, when we should be doing it, but just, like...
Oh.
I see. Yeah, I think it still takes more than a couple of years. You've watched Bones. They dig up bodies, and Depends how much we embalm them and all that kind of stuff too. But yeah, I think it takes a few years for a body to completely break down, especially given that we put them in boxes and treat them with fluids and chemicals and things like that on its own.
I think this would be a more goddamn easy question, but the fucking internet does not want to tell me.
If you watch all the true crime shows and listen to podcasts and things like that, they'll be like, well, this body was out in the woods for like a few days or a few weeks or a few months. It all depends on exposure.
Yeah, for a little bit, Dresden ponders waiting for Michael, but he hears Charity screaming.
Yeah,
does enter the cemetery.
Yeah, because he does call out for her, and he does get a response that's cut off pretty quick, but at least it gives him a direction to head towards. Do we find out how long a body takes?
At 100 years, the only thing that's left is teeth.
There you go.
Really? Teeth?
Yep. Although I feel like in this day and age, we're all breaking them down so fast anyways.
Our teeth?
Yeah.
I don't know about what you're eating, but maybe because they've got like the enamel and stuff that your bones don't. So even though it's like they're made up of the same stuff of bones, it's that enamel coating.
Visions of opening up,
Yeah, pretty much.
So that just ruins all of the Indiana Jones sort of.
Well, again, depends how well those things are sealed. Yeah. I mean, mummies were mummified, so you got more. But yeah, stuff that's like left out and broken down, and what was that? It's like all those pirate movies and shit like that, right? And all this, you open up and there's like all this gold and chains and just like a few random teeth. Like, it seems to me that's like a pretty
and they were golden teeth at that.
A lot of times, well, even more reason for those ones to be left around. But yeah. So he hears Charity calling out, so he heads in that direction. He's like, really wishes he had like his dead man's talisman and stuff back that he gave to Lydia to help protect all against like all these demons and spooks and stuff like that. And finally manages to, he uses his little amulet, the one from Mom, again, gives himself like a little bit of light to navigate through here. So he's wandering through looking for Charity. He mentions here he takes out his pentacle and holds it up for some light, and he's like held it aloft like Diogenes' lamp. So this was another guy from like 400 something BC that apparently was like a student of like Socrates.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, did you look him
I'm looking for a real man, or
an honest
man.
Yes, would carry a lantern around in the daytime and that, and supposedly, the translation is looking for an honest man. So
sensationalism.
He sounds kind of like an okay guy, but he also sounds kind of like a guy where I'm like, no, ideally, I get where you're going, but I don't think it really works out. So yeah, his whole thing was he sort of embraced poverty, and apparently he lived in like a giant like rain barrel or urn or something like that in the marketplace. But with like bag and stuff like that, and was like this philosopher and things like that. And he's basically like, man doesn't need any like possessions and things like that, which is why, but he's also was like did not think well of like social conventions and manners. He's like, it's all just a lie. Like, you should just be truthful. And I'm like, on the one, like, again, ideally, that would be great, but I just tend to think more of people like my ex-husband, where he's like, well, I'm just honest. I'm like, no, you're just an asshole. Like, there's a difference between, I'm like, you can't use that as an excuse to get away with saying whatever you want, whenever you want. Well, I'm just being truthful. It's like, no, you're just being fucking harsh and mean. And, so I'm like, I kind of can't help feeling that. Sorry, Diogenes. I'm like, I'm sure that's not entirely what you meant, but when you're just like, lies are just, or manners are just a lie, and like social convention, which was this whole thing about looking for and holding a light up to people's faces, they had to see who they really were. And I'm just like, I like social conventions, I like manners. I'm like, I'm grateful that when I go to the grocery store and if I say thank you very much to my cashier says you're very welcome, as opposed to little miss fucking what's in it for me, or like, I'm like, no, I like that we have. It's just a way. It doesn't matter if you mean it. Just say, I'm well, thank you. How are you? Have a nice day. But yeah, more Greek philosopher folks. So he gets there, and she's laying on like a big stone slab, and the nightmare Dresden is like standing over her. I don't think he doesn't have any weapons or anything like that, right? He's got like a hand like on her forehead holding her down, then he's holding like another hand like over her pregnant belly. So he comes in and is like, hey, asshole, basically. Well, I guess actually the nightmare addresses him first. It's like, wizard, demon. It's kind of this interesting exchange here where the demon is like, oh, is that what I am? I wasn't sure, and it's like, okay. And then they go and, they start to sling, and you're like, fucking Charity. You're like, yeah, this is why you're Michael's wife. It's like she's fucking like, as soon as he's distracted, she fucking takes a shot at him. She doesn't just, she's not just the helpless damsel in distress, like waiting to be rescued or whatever. And they've already said, like at other time, like I think when she came to, Charity's around 6 feet tall or whatever, like she's not that tiny. I mean, like, of course, Murphy's pretty capable herself, and Murphy is like a tiny 5 foot, but pregnant or not, laying out on this like stone slab beer grave mausoleum thing, she just fucking like turns around on this thing and just fucking plants her feet and boots him and does like knock him back a few feet. He's not, it was like, yes.
Well, I thought there was like when the nightmare attempts to send a fire spell to Dresden.
Yeah, I know.
It shows his inexperience, like,
right?
Just, like,
I know, I did the same thing.
You can take the powers, but you don't have that kind of knowledge of how to utilize the powers.
Yeah, exactly, because he's like, fuego, and even I'm like, fuego, like it's fucking pouring rain, and then he's like, yeah, Dresden says as much a minute later, he's like, I probably wouldn't have pulled out like a fire spell in the middle of a down, because again, it's not even just like drizzling, it's like a fucking downpour. He's like... But, he's ready and expecting it and has his shield and stuff already. But, yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, now you're just being dumb. Like, you probably would have been better off throwing fire at them in the middle of the precinct. Because they're, like, coming through the doorway of, like, an office. If he'd fucking blasted fuego at the three of them, he definitely would have singed up Dresden, if not done, like, serious damage. And he would have... gotten some of that onto Rudolph and Stallings, and then out here in the middle of the rainstorm, if you fucking blasted him away with some wind, like, buddy, you're just not being smart about this.
Yeah, doesn't know how to
you're
handle
just,
it
like,
properly.
randomly pulling things out of the toolbox, and you don't know what they're for or when to use them best. So, again, which is good, because we don't want Harry dead, so I guess if he was being smart about this, Harry might not have survived Murphy's office. But, yeah. The fire and rain doesn't go too well. Charity takes her shot. Unfortunately, physics being what it is, and things that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So she shoves the guy off, manages to topple herself off this thing too, and then she's all confused because then she realizes that the other person there is Dresden, and he's like, no time, just run.
Rough night for Charity.
Sorry?
Rough night for Charity.
Rough night for Charity. Like, fuck, one of you assholes, and I've got two of you. Like, what? Wait.
Dresden takes the next shot at the nightmare, doing a vaulting kick.
Yeah, he just... And again, this is where it's always like, nobody ever expects the physical assault from the wizard. So, yeah, basically just lunges at him. And it's not going very well.
Yeah, it does kind of backfire on him.
Like, he kind of gets in a couple good punches, but the nightmare ends up coming out on top and, like, basically, like, bashes his head into, like, a stone pillar or whatever, which I can just imagine.
Owie.
Yeah. I mean, again, I've walked into the occasional door, and that's not a lot of fun. I can only imagine having somebody purposefully, like, smash your head into a brick wall. Right. I'm like, oh, ow, nope, not cool. No. So, yeah. So now Harry's not doing so good.
No, he can't even get up.
He's tired, he's hurting, he's like pretty badly concussed, he's bleeding all over, he's trying to blink the blood and shit out of his eyes, and he like hurts too much and is nauseous and whatever. And then here comes Leah.
Opportunistic Leah.
Oh, absolutely. But that is 100% Leah's nature and, raison d'etre. Harry, for fuck's sake. Like,
head trauma.
Okay, fine, I guess. Is that what we're going with here?
Yeah, he's an idiot.
It's like, you've been dodging her all book and trying to, like, you don't even try to make a better deal for yourself here. She proposes the first, like, shitty thing. It was like, why don't you be like, I have to get rid of, like, oh, just let me save the girl. It's like, why don't you be like, I have to get rid of this fucking nightmare that's terrorizing anybody when that's done. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, sure, great, maybe you would have kicked his ass tonight and been done too, but let's face it, with the way things have been going, that doesn't seem too likely, so you could have bought yourself a lot more time than you did. But fine, I guess we'll blame it on the concussion.
Yeah, head injury.
So yeah, she's like, do. And again, so much, but like, ugh,
creepy moment that when she like licks the blood off.
Yeah, I know. Fucking fairies, man. So yeah, so she's basically like, she's just all creepy, and she's like, oh, you're not doing so good. She's like, you might just expire right here in this, place full of dead people. Harry's like, gee, thanks. Like, that's not. She's like, wow, you're already surrounded by all these dead. You might just stay here. So then he tries to be like, well, you don't have any power over me. Like, this is a never. Like, you're on my turf. And she's like, oh, child. Yeah, you keep giving me power because we made a bargain. And you just keep digging yourself deeper and deeper and trying to wiggle out of it and tightening that noose. And, right. So he's like, well, you're going to kill me then. She's like, oh my God, I never wanted that. Like, what use are you to me, Dad? And he's like, oh. And then, again, just so casually, like, one of her hounds, just kind of moves up next to her, and she starts petting it, and Harry's like, oh. Like, I don't know if that's better. Maybe just kill me?
Just want you tamed.
Which, good luck. Right. Harry's one of those people that's like, I think it's the beginning of the episode, you're like, the more you tell him you can't do that, the more he's going to be like, well, fuck you. Yeah. Like, oh, you want to tame me? I'm going to start running around naked and, like, painting my face with berries or something, He's like, I'm just going to go as far from tame as you can. Yeah. So, and then she gives him hell. She's like, I'm really allowing yourself to be eaten. Like, we taught you better than that. It's like, oh my God.
No.
I didn't let myself. Like, fuck you. So, yeah, once again, she's like, I can help you out of this. I can let you save the White Knight's lady. And he barely, and this is where I was talking about earlier, where he has that moment. He's like, oh, I've done enough. He's like, I tried to help Charity. It's not my fault if I'm losing. He's like, she doesn't even like me. She hates me. Like, why am I going to kill myself? Literally. Trying to help this chick that doesn't even like me, little, like, he's like, fuck this, I've already taken a bunch of risks, and then ultimately, right, that chivalry, that moral compass, that whatever it is, he's like, oh,
no, I gotta do it.
Like, yeah, I'm not actually out of the count yet. She's like, fine, what do you want? She's like, just more of the same. And Harry's like, okay, cool. It's like, Harry, you, oh. But this, even I don't know, I can't 100% remember for sure. Maybe it's when he starts pointing it out a little more, but I want to feel like even by this point, like, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, dude, you're in the middle of, like, every 5 seconds, it's like, it's pouring rain, it's pouring rain, it's pouring rain, it's pouring rain. I'm like, do you think there might be an importance to the pouring rain? And Harry's like, I don't know, I don't get it, I'm just sucked, it's, like, wet. And then Lee is like, it's all around you. And he's like, what? That still doesn't. And it still takes him such an incredibly long time.
Head trauma, man.
I guess.
This boy just got bashed against a stone pillar.
I suppose, but
his brains are all squishy right now.
But he's giving
us this huge nightmare. And
I get that, but he's giving us other insight.
Yeah.
And again, this is all this unreliable narrator bullshit about, like, oh, I felt awful. Well, like, if you can sit there and say how you felt awful at fall, and you noticed the rain, and you can describe, like, the 6 gravestones you're lying amongst, maybe your brain is working well enough to figure out that it's fucking raining, Harry.
Remember, these are all written from Bob helping him recount, so maybe Bob's just adding in some ambiance.
Yeah. But yeah, basically, yeah, she gives him, like, nothing. She's
good
like,
old Leah, you useless motherfucker.
Yeah. And she starts, like, nailing it down, because he keeps wriggling. She's like, you will come with me tonight. I will give you what you need tonight, and as soon as Charity is safe, I'm going to show up, you're going to take my hand, we're going to fuck off out of here, you're going to heal up, and you're going to be mine, and... Right? Like, she's, like, trying to close those loopholes and whatever that, right? And he's like, yeah, okay. And then that's it, right? She gives him a kiss on the forehead, tells him the answer's all around you, and fucks off. He's like, what the hell kind of cryptic fucking advice is that? Again! Like, again! Just fucking ask her outright.
Well, at least Harry's able to get up now that he's been...
So he's at least able to get up now, yeah. He's like, I still feel like shit, I still hurt, but at least he's not completely seeing birdies and sick to his stomach and whatever. He has regained control of his limbs.
He confronts the nightmare. Hey, you, ugly! Of course. Like,
hey, ugly. But now we've got the Murphy scenario again, where he's doing the creepy thing where he's like sticking his hands in and like wiggling with her brain, and it's not cool. And yeah, he's kind of like, oh, I have more time to continue this. He's like, oh, you're not dead yet? Like, me bashing you into the wall wasn't enough? Like, okay, I guess I can come back to this. Right, so thankfully sort of lets Charity go there. So again, presumably he hasn't done as much damage as he's done to Murphy and stuff like that. And again, just to go back to what we were saying, I'm like, that's pretty much all we see of Murphy. She's basically down for the count. Like I say, having had such a huge presence in the last couple books, Murphy is just, she's not the center of this one. So, yeah. So, and again, he makes fun of him with the whole, like, fucking, what are you talking, like, the archaic speech and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He's like, yada, yada, yada. He's like, Jesus, he's even the fucking
nobody's
fairies.
like that anymore.
Yeah, he's like, even the fucking fairies keep up with the dog. Which, I agree to a large part, but I'm like, the fairies still sometimes have some these and thous, and Leah still talks a little bit froofy and stuff sometimes about... But yeah, it's not quite as bad. And he starts giving him... I think it's in this one, unless I'm skipping ahead, but he starts giving him, like, the grammar lessons... Where it's like, it's thine, not thine, you know? It's like, you're gonna use it, you're not even using it fucking right, like... But yeah, and then, lo and behold, ta-ding! Michael has come racing behind him. So again, obviously most of this stuff probably isn't taking this long by the time he, like, chased them down. So yes, so Michael obviously has realized now that they're not in the sun, whether he, like, you know, I like to think he might have heard kind of Harry shouting at him and came not too far behind, but whatever. He is there now, has figured out...
Finally makes it.
Yeah, again, so either just figured out on his own or, again, shook down the poor cashier. Now you're gonna fucking tell me, where did they go? Where did they go this day? So thankfully, yeah, Harry getting his skull bashed in has made enough noise for Michael to come pinpoint where they are. Because at least, Dresden was, like, yelling out and at least got, like, some response from Charity. They're just all, like, grunting and groaning and bashing. So thankfully, using his head like a gong apparently is enough for Michael to figure out where in the cemetery they've disappeared to. And just in the nick of time, intervenes.
Yeah, he gives Dresden a crucifix and tells him to get it to Charity, and then begins to battle the nightmare.
Yeah, so he takes on. So this is good for a number of reasons. One, Amoracchius, we've already determined, is a big, powerful defense against this thing. Plus, Michael's fresh. Michael is not so beat up. He, was kind of up, but he was, dozing with his kid kind of a thing. He hasn't been through what Harry's been through in the last month. Michael hasn't been, half chomped in a nightmare or anything like that, right? So Harry's like, oh, thank God. So he goes over to try and help Charity, and it's fucking like, because the demon is like, oh, it's you, and he's like, yeah, it's me, and he's like, I knew it'd come to this, and Harry's like, fucking shut up, just kill it. Like, he's like so over this guy, and it's hilarious, because it's like, again, it's just like hits too close to home or something. Harry's like, I'm the one that yammers without shutting up. And every time my foes are like, I'm here to get you, I'm like, but he's like, he can't stand the fact that this guy just keeps chirping off and he's like coming at her. It's just like, shut the fuck up, okay? Only I'm allowed to do that. So already he gets a cut in on him, and you get that white fire erupting. So it's like, ooh, we didn't really get to see Amoracchius much in I guess we did a little bit with Agatha as well. So yeah, so then Charity is like, my husband, he's like, hey, he's busy kicking ass, and she's like, language. It's like, again, it's like, but yeah, she gets the crucifix and that, and then yeah, he's trying to like help her up and practically like face plants. Right.
There's such a sweet moment between that when Michael gets there, the first thing he asks is, how's my wife?
Yes.
And the first thing that Charity asks is,
where's my husband?
Where's my husband? Yeah. That's really sweet dynamic between them.
Yeah, it is. Exactly that. What's the most important thing in their life is the other one.
Yes.
Michael will die for her. She'll die before, and so, yeah, it is. You're right. And then, so he tries to, like, pick her up or whatever and just about fucking keels over because she's heavier than he, and he's just, like, so fucking done. But again, she's, like, not doing so good, and he's like, what is it? And she's like, I think the baby. And he's like, oh, shit. Oh, no. He's like, of course. I love this, right? He's like, someone up there has a sick sense of humor. He's like, fucking just... And then she's like, I don't have much time. And he's like, no, naturally not. And no offense, I mean, I used to laugh, like, because that's always the thing in TV. They're always like, somebody will, like, instantly go into labor and be, like, 5 minutes apart. Like, that baby's coming, like, now. And it's usually, like, their first one half the time, because that's, like, they don't know what to expect and what's going on. And but it doesn't usually start off that fast. But this is Charity's. Like, we don't know for sure, other than they've got a few. But it's not her first chance. I'm like, usually your labors get shorter and shorter. Like, obviously there's exceptions to the rules, but for the most part. So I was like, really? This could, Charity probably knows. Like, she's been through this a few times already. She does know what labor. And again, usually subsequently it starts getting shorter and shorter. So I'm like, okay, in this instance, when she's like, there's not, like, I think my water broke and it's happening now. I'm like, yeah, okay, this could actually be like a real... I'm like, this could be. And then, she's like, Michael, we've got a problem. And then, while he's doing that, the nightmare takes a moment to jump up behind.
With a tombstone.
To do, like, a...
Smash,
like a warp jump from over by Michael to, like, sneak up behind. So, again, I don't know how this frickin' works with, like, demon nightmare ghost things in a physical body, because he apparently just can, like, pop in and out all over the place and do shit, so...
Oh, I didn't realize it was a... I thought he was just very fast.
Maybe he just moved. Maybe it's just where my own brain had it laid out is not quite... But yeah, because he's like, Michael threw himself behind one of the beers as a stone whistled out of the darkness and shattered to powder. And he's like, what? And he's like, Charity, her baby's coming. And he's like, Michael. And then Michael shouts, Harry, look out. He's like, I turned and the nightmare appeared from the darkness behind me. I guess moving almost more swiftly than I could see. It reached down and simply tore a marble. So maybe it wasn't just a poof thing. Maybe it was just preternatural speed because he's got the strength to rip this thing up too. So... Either way, as always, it seems like the bad guys have way cooler, better powers to start with. Yeah. They can always do so much more fancy stuff than here.
Hand.
Right.
And in this case, he has a tombstone in his upper hand.
Yeah.
Ready to smash.
Smash. And Dresden's like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, he, again, instinct, he puts himself between it and Charity, but he's like... It doesn't fucking matter. This is like a huge marble or stone, head. Like, he's gonna squish us both.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the nightmare's got a...
Hey, look, a plot just opened up.
Hey. Put-um-bum. Book plot.
Oh!
Plot.
Man, I'm good.
So yeah, now he's got leverage against Michael.
Yeah, drop the sword, yeah.
And Harry's, of course, doing the don't do it, he's gonna kill us anyways. And he's like, shut up. And then Michael is just, he's like, I can't take that chance. It's pretty slim. This guy'll stick to his word. But again, he doesn't really need Charity. It's us he's pissed at. I can't, just take the chance in this case. And drops the sword, and Harry's like, oh shit. And then once again, Charity defends herself. And Dresden, she's got the crucifix, and that's where, right, Harry's faith magic is in his pentacle and in magic, whereas their faith is their religious faith. And because, Michael knew his wife, got her the crucifix, she is able to use that. And basically, throws him off balance with the force and the light and the power and the whatever. So, thankfully, he just drops it instead of, to the side instead of, on them.
Yeah. That would have sucked.
But again, yeah, right. Well, that's the thing. He's standing there over you, and she's like, oh, that could easily have gone the other way.
End of story.
But yes, but again, it's like Charity's arm abruptly swept up the crucifix I'd passed her, held in it, the symbol flickered and then kindled with white fire that threw harsh horror movie shadows up over the nightmare's face. Twisted and recoiled from that light, screaming, and the tombstone crashed down to the earth, rending the damp, vulnerable soil. And that's when Harry's brain starts to kick in.
Oh, yeah.
Damp, wet, water. Huh. And realizes that, yeah, the cemetery is all but, like, flooding in spots. You know, they're at the top of, like, a little hill or something. Yeah. And it's pouring rain. And, running water. And...
Well, it just speaks to the strength of the nightmare as well. How incredibly strong he is. Because if it's pouring rain, wouldn't that have been enough to disrupt...
See, and again, this is where it kind of goes back and forth sometimes, because
they've said before, Harry's like, a rainstorm like this would just screw up my spells.
Yeah, and then when he's got the Toad Demon back in book 1, again, because of all these summer storms, they're running through the rain, and he's trying to get to a spot, he's trying to get a few blocks over, because he's like, there's Reading Road always, like, floods or whatever. So he's like, he can't cross that running water. So, again, right, it's like, which portions of these are, like, mortal magic versus supernatural magic? Because, again, the fairies can whip around magic all over the place, and Harry, or without affecting, like, technology or anything, but Harry's human magic messes with technology and so, right? So the fairies have a different type or a different use or whatever it is than Harry, right? So is it one of those things? Like, and then again here, right? It's like, well, yeah, you just spent like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, however long this fight scene is supposed to take place, both, you know, walking, well, I guess they were already sort of walked down the street because it was when Harry came outside, it started raining, but, you know, exactly, is all this running around in the rain doing it, or is it just because he needs a larger body than the rain itself? And yet, yeah, there are times where, like you say, Harry is like, well, it's raining, that kind of affects what I can do. So it's like, I don't know, like, is it slowly eroding and just not enough? Or is it, again, once he gets sort of, because he pulls him down basically into like a little stream of water, and that seems to, so again, maybe just like the falling rain, even though it's like pouring and coming down fairly heavily, isn't the same as an accumulated. I don't know, maybe it is, it's just kind of one of those continuity errors in the Dresden verse. Like, Butcher, we want answers.
So Dresden does drown the nightmare. Like, I love that little description that he starts melting like sugar.
Yeah, he basically, rolls him down the hill into the thing. He's like holding on for dear life. I'm like, yeah, as soon as he hits this thing, he starts screaming and jerking and twisting. So he's like on top of Harry at first, and Harry manages to get around and whatever, not get drowned or whatever. But yeah, because it conveniently like starts at his feet and start working its way up, he's still spouting off. You know, it's like, this isn't over, and I'm gonna come back and get you. And he's like, just fucking melt already. Like, for the 100th time today. He's like, oh, stop fucking talking like that. Like, Michael just killed this guy. Dude, just fucking melt. Like, so he finally does. So now he's even more soaked and soggy. And, Michael is tending to Charity.
Leaves her like she's nothing.
Like she's nothing, because Michael's just buff, and it's his wife, and he's not beat to shit like Harry. So Harry's left to gather up the other things, his rod and staff and the sword. And I do like that line where he's like, I don't have the scabbard or anything for it, the sheath. So he's like, I'm hoping I don't, you know, he's like, I put it up on my shoulder. He's like, I'm hoping I don't just like trip and cut off my own head. Like, that would be very classic Harry too, I'm sure. And lo and behold, Leah's back.
Yeah, she comes calling for payments.
And he's like, oh shit.
Surprise, not really. Like, she did tell you exactly what the terms were.
She said, I'll be right back to get you. And he's like, what? No, wait, it's still, okay, I saved the girl, but, the thing still, it can come back. And she's like, not my problem. That wasn't. And yeah, then it gets bad. So then he feels like the dog's advancing, and he's like, well, I don't really know how to use a sword, but it's pointy. I can probably stab a dog so the dog don't come get me. And Michael figures out what he's doing.
Tries to warn him, but too late.
Right, because he sees Harry, he fumbles, you know, drops the rest of the shit and is getting it. And Michael's like, no, you can't. And bad things, Harry, no.
Yeah, it backfires immediately on him.
Big time. And I like how there's like a little physical repercussion. Like he gets like a jolt and a tingle like up his arms and everything. Like it's like spanked him, you know. It's like, no. And realizes what he's done. It's like you can't use like a holy weapon of truth and good to cheat and finagle and worm your way out of a promise.
Yeah. Because of that, Leah's able to pick up the sword.
Yeah. So she's like, oh,
You broke it, you idiot.
Yeah. She's like, thank you. You fucked up. And she's like, I kind of knew, like, Leah knew one way or the other. You know, like, whether she had hopes that she might get the sword just because it was there or whatever. But basically, she knew there wasn't, right? Either she gets Harry because he finally comes, or he's going to fuck up and, like, you know, break more promises, which is obviously, like, affecting him and not doing well. Or maybe he fucks up and gets her the sword, or like, there was all kinds of, you know, things that she could get out of this situation that favored her one way or the other.
Right.
So, right, like, she's like, I knew you were gonna fucking try and slip something past me again, so, boom, I got, like, the big bonanza. You know, she's like, I still get to get you, because that's still that promise, and I'm still owed to me, but you also fucked up big time, and now I get my hands on this, like, super powerful artifact.
Yeah.
And Michael is so broken. Like, that's it. It's like, she just he's like, oh, so can we, like, talk about this? And she's like, fuck you. She's like, yeah, talk is cheap. We've done that. And, like, literally just, like, picks it up and turns around on a step and is gone. And, like, and he's like, I think he was crying, but I couldn't tell in the rain. You know? And he's like, oh. And one of the few times, like, he always says, you know, he always says, like, Christ preserve, or God's blood, or something like that. And here he's like, oh my God. He's like, Harry, what have you done? I was like, I fucked up big time.
Yeah, the anxiety from that element would kill me. I wouldn't exist anymore in this book.
Right? That, I know. Dead on the spot. Like, yeah.
The guilt. Oh, God.
Yeah. And, like, that's it. Michael is just, like, literally, like, what?
What just happened?
Well, if Michael's only been in this book, right? We've only known him for, like, 20 or so chapters at this point, right? And it's already been well established that, like, this sword is a big fucking deal.
Yeah. Yeah, a really big deal.
This is his life.
Like, I mean, at the expense of Murphy, it's really been hammered in that this sword is a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Exactly. So.
Oh well, better luck next lifetime.
This concludes our episode 8.10 of Fool's Gambit. Thank you for listening. You can find us online at freeflowrambling.com and McAnallys.ca. There we have links to our other podcasts, social media, and other fun tidbits. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and please consider supporting us through Patreon to keep the magic alive and to see more content. We are Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.